Hey everybody, welcome to the Strive Summit podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today with me I have Matt Byrd. Matt Byrd, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey there. Yeah, it's a pleasure joining you. My name is Matthew Byrd. I am founder and CEO of Reality Capture Network and also Chief Innovation Officer at Allen 3D.
Yeah, Reality Capture Network, if you guys don't know, it's kind of a big deal. Been there pretty much since the second one and continue to be there until it's in my backyard. So, Matt, thank you for that. Such an awesome conference.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so let's talk about some cool technology since you probably know and seen a lot of it, especially in the surveying, scanning space. What are some things that you've seen come out maybe this year that you are really excited for and looking forward to seeing like in practical situations?
It's a good question. Honestly, the technologies that I'm still most excited about are not brand new, but I think that the adoption of them is still growing so much. I mean, laser scanning, for example, right? It has been around for quite a long time, but I think that it's at the point that it's finally growing in adoption, growing in interest. People are starting to understand it, recognize it, ask for it. And it's still one of the most exciting technologies to me because every industry can value, capturing accurate information of things that exist, whether it's for construction or forensics or entertainment. So laser scanning is still one of the coolest technologies to me. Recreating digital replicas of real world. And I mean, we could talk about more futuristic things of, robotics. Sure. And, Apple Vision Pro and, XR technologies. And I think there's a lot that will happen there. Some of those, I think the real mass adoption and practical application is maybe not quite as massive yet. Those are not at their mass adoption curve yet, where I think LiDAR laser scanning really is seeing a lot of growth.
Yeah, I can tell you personally firsthand that I always request a scan if there's one not done on a project when I'm on. And it's definitely saved my ass a few times, especially in the wallet. Okay, so question about LiDAR scanning in general. Did you know that forestry uses it? I found this out the other day. That was crazy. So what do you know that they use it for?
I haven't gone deep, but I know that it is used in forestry for, tree count, for looking at sizes of trees, for canopy cover, for, and I know that there's, different industries also have different types of sensors they can put in place or softwares that can do certain types of analysis. Such as crop analysis and looking at what disease is popping up next to plants and what needs more watering. It gets very deep in different industries. They kind of have their own application and maybe twist on it, but yeah.
Okay, so you just mentioned that I've never heard of before: crop analysis and diseases. Tell me, do you know how that works?
I don't personally. That is outside of my area of expertise, but flying drones over large areas and having images and then software that can use the images to identify changes in color and soil that then can tell them what. You can get really far nowadays with the mix of those technologies. It's not just a drone or just a camera, but it's mixing all of that. And I think things like that are going to grow a lot over the next several years as there's such a big focus on AI and being able to process data in a certain way. And it's pretty crazy.
So next 5 years, farmers and drones?
It's pretty common. Yeah, it's out there.
They already have the robotic harvesters and stuff following GPS coordinates and guides like that. I've seen the remote, excavators and things like that, where they got their pod in their office in their room, kind of like flying, military drones, and they're using equipment overseas or in Alaska. It's incredible where that robotic technology is going. It's amazing.
It really is. I think that we've barely scratched the surface of where robotics and autonomous and virtual applications like that will come into some of our everyday life. Like one example that comes to mind for me is like shopping at a store. Like right? You see the growth of something like Amazon, where even if someone can drive down the street and go get it, the ease of just order it and it gets dropped off at your door. And then you also look at things like drone delivery, which Walmart has put a focus on with Drone Up, I think it is. There's so many scenarios like that. Are we there yet today? No. But in the future, will we have robots in a retail store that, like, instead of you walking around lost trying to find what aisle the thing is that you want, like, you just say, I want this thing, and a robot knows exactly where it is, grabs it, brings it out to you, or delivers it. Like, we don't have humanoid robots walking around retail stores yet. But in the future, I think so much more robotics and autonomous, even in things like that, which is weird to think about, but I think it'll happen.
Well, I definitely think, like, there's going to be the AR, XR glasses that people wear, and next thing you know, it's giving you directions, like when you're playing, video games. There's always a big arrow above you telling you where to go. I see that in the future when that technology becomes more affordable.
Yes,
and it's out there for everyone to grab and touch.
Even before the glasses idea, which I agree with too, and I think it'll get there. Even just iPhone, right? Like, everyone's using that for wayfinding through a city, right? Well, the future of stores, you will have location mapping to whatever product you're looking for. People spend so much time browsing around looking for the thing up and down aisles and, like, asking if they even have it in the store. In the future, every retailer like that will have all of their stores mapped, the product placement, if it's in stock. You don't have to go ask for help or get guided to where the thing is. That type of technology, which all of that takes accurate mapping, data behind the scenes, software that can, wayfinding and tell you how to get there, and there's ways to do it now, but obviously we're not seeing a ton of it yet.
Yet. And that's the key word here.
Yeah.
It's going to get there, and I think it's like the next 5 to 10 years you're going to see more of that, more commonplace. Like, I've always said that, I'm construction side. I've always said that scanning's a necessity for any project you do, regardless of if you're starting in the middle, at the end, or you got final closed up, or you're starting at the very beginning. Give me a foundation or layout, because especially with remodels, when you have these buildings that have CAD drawings and someone converted them to Revit, and now they think this is the magical thing, and next thing you know, columns and corners and walls are in different spots, and they're trying to put this stuff together on site. It's a big issue. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're a GC, get a damn scan.
Yes.
Wherever it is, just get one.
As-built are as should-have-beens.
Yes.
I think I've heard that before, right? Yeah. I mean, there is no drawing that tells everybody exactly how things sit now. And if that is critical information to design and build off of, then you have to scan, or you're starting with guesswork. And just the savings of risk of potential problems of assuming your drawings were accurate enough is a reason to scan. And again, that's been proven out over and over and over, which is why the growth of laser scanning over the last 10 years has gone from nobody asking for it to, in many industries, companies require it at the beginning of a job. Now, even there, we're just kind of scratching the surface of what can be done with that data, how often they should scan to compare. So there's so much growth happening around all of the reality capture tools, which is what I'm super excited about.
Okay, so how easy is it to get into? I'm fresh out of high school. How easy is it to get into reality capture? What do I?
My recommendation for somebody that is getting out of high school, has no experience, is get on LinkedIn and search for some people with the title laser scanning in their name, and message them and try to find an internship, work for cheap, get a little bit of experience on the job helping as a scan technician. Anybody could do that. Anybody. And within a couple years of just learning about it, you're now a very valuable person, because nobody is coming out of school a laser scanning expert. The only way to get in is to get in at the ground level and learn a little bit. But it's a huge opportunity. There's massive need around these technologies, and it's very, very, very slow growth, organic as to who's getting into it and performing it. So I definitely would recommend that path.
That's great. What's funny is I'll go to a site, I'll do a construction site, and they'll see it, they'll do the model, I'll show them the scan and stuff, and people are like, oh, that's incredible. How did you ever learn how to do this? And then I show them the gateway drug into scanning, which is Polycam.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I show everyone I meet who's interested in what I do Polycam, because every time we tell people what we do for a living that's not in this industry,
No.
I'm a drafter. You can't tell them. Give them Polycam and be like, yeah, you see all this? No, this is a product of what we do, and it builds this and this and this and this, and then now people kind of get a better picture.
Totally.
I probably converted about more than 24. Even a buddy of mine who's not in the industry at all, he used it for capture of a condo that he was like, oh, this is incredible. No one's going to believe me. He's trying to take photos. He goes, oh, I can scan it.
Yeah.
So he came home. He was so proud of himself. He showed the scan, and it was actually great because we actually got to like see it and like scale it and like really see it instead of a picture. So what is your opinion about people getting into Polycam, and then how do they use that to advance rather than like maybe they're not in high school, maybe they're like 29 still don't know what to do with their life?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that is absolutely an entry point. iPhone LiDAR has only been there for a couple years. It is not the high-grade professional tool that you're going to use on a airport or a construction job renovation, but it is absolutely an amazing entry point for people that have zero experience. You can't go buy a $100,000 scanner to play with. You know, get an iPhone app, start scanning just to understand it and 3D and the application, and then spend time researching, right? Look on YouTube, research reasons for scanning, learn about it, because I'll tell you, so many people think you need to find a job post in order to get a job. Nope. I 1000% guarantee you. You download the app, you play with data, you do some research, put a little letter together about why you're interested in these technologies, the fact you've played with this is what's exciting about it. Send that to some people, you will get a job.
Oh yeah, they'll make a position for you just like that.
And that's what? That's not going and getting a degree in it. That's like spend a few hours and you can go land a job in it. Guaranteed. Yeah. Because the other thing is, there are not enough people that already know how to do it. Everybody that is building scanning teams, they're growing in how much they're doing this. They're all looking to hire. So it's not actually that hard to get a job in it.
I like you said earlier, there's no course, class, direct avenue, which is something I've been fighting for. We'll call it BIM, VDC, AEC, the whole industry.
Yep.
BIM includes scanning, which LiDAR is a whole nother thing in itself. And the thing is, no one's an expert in this stuff yet because it's all still very new. I think I was one of the last classes that took like manual drafting. And then I got into drafting technology. They showed you a little bit of everything. It was like Revit 2010, 2011. I hated it. Worst thing ever. I was like, never going to touch this again. I was a SolidWorks guy.
Yep.
And then, you know, you get into this groove and you start doing this. And I started doing it for 3 years. And next thing you know, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm going to these conferences. I'm communicating with people. And now I have that knowledge to share with everyone and guide people through. And like you said, you play around with it for a bit, you're already 10 times further than anyone else who ever downloaded it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
there's a big need for people to get into these technologies, and it's not coming from the schools yet. And that's part of my mission is like talking about it enough that people even know it's a thing to then ask the question of like, how do you get into it? We definitely have some plans with the committees that we're launching and like some of the training and the standards and the things like that we want to work toward, because if we create that material, we can have a in-between where if you're fresh and you have no experience, instead of only doing the iPhone thing, like come take a few classes and have like an entry-level knowledge to at least start out in a role.
Right.
And even the more advanced, like everybody that's really good at laser scanning right now has been running their head, you know, against a wall over and over and over for years because everything is on the job learning. Nobody's teaching you how to do really hard projects. Like it's all on the job experience. So even for the advanced side, we need more education. We need lessons learned. We need guidelines. We need sharing. That's why I believe so much in building the community that we're focused on is I think that we can change a lot of the thoughts around the technology, the adoption of it. We can share the lessons learned. We can avoid a lot of the same headaches. Yeah, it's a big need.
Yeah, and I definitely see a lot of that come through at the conferences as well. I mean, I've only done the Boise one. I know you traveled this year for the first time. What was that like first?
So we're, we've started kind of collaborating at a couple other events, but our only conference, so the RCN conference, which we renamed Archon.
Yep.
That way we have a little separation between everything Reality Capture Network does, and Archon is our annual conference. We only have one conference, and it's here in Boise every year, every October. We haven't gone and moved our event anywhere else yet, but we have started to try to branch out. We're partnering and doing some collaboration at Geo Week this year. We went and did a booth there last year. We actually are looking, I can't even announce the other ones yet, but we have some more collaborations ahead. Because I think there's so much value in collaborating with other industry events and other communities. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and if you guys, again, if you haven't been to Archon or RCN conference, like, you need to check it out. Probably one of my favorite ones. One, because it's niche. You get a lot of people there that like love what they do. The passion is felt.
Oh yeah,
it's one thing I like to see. It. I've been to conferences and stuff, and everyone's kind of like there doing the sales thing. And at Archon, there is the passion that like you start talking to people, and like people get excited, and then you get excited, and then ideas are born. I remember.
Yes.
I had Soheil on here earlier, and we were talking about using photogrammetry and how to use terrestrial LiDAR scanners and coordinate GPS using terrestrial and photogrammetry, and how much time could that save with the drone using photogrammetry than the terrestrial on, a 40-acre plot.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuff comes up, and it's just so interesting what comes out of that. I love it.
Yeah, same. I love it because everybody that comes to our event right now is forward thinking. They're either using these tools, they're very interested in them, they're an expert in them, one of the above. So it's not like, I go to other conferences too, and there's so many people that if you reach out and try to talk to 4 or 5 people, there might be one that knows anything about what you do or has any interest in it, and the others are like in totally different areas, different industries. The thing I love about ours is everybody is there looking at what are the new technologies? How do we build these into our companies? How do we build a more visual way of working in a digital environments? And so it's so easy to turn around and talk to people and be, relatable and build relationships. And we put such a big focus to the relationship building piece, providing networking opportunities, having fun, kind of trying to break some of those walls down so that people can really, leave with real relationships.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you I've met some people and we've stayed connected throughout the past couple of years. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Next thing I want to get into is your journey. So everyone online, LinkedIn listening now knows Matt Byrd LinkedIn. What is the story of, you came out of high school, or you're in high school, and you're like, you know what, I want to go down this path, or this went this way, and how did you fall into the spot that you're in today? And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it wasn't like a goal that you had to be where you're at, or you fell into this industry, but
yeah,
I want to hear it all.
Okay, I'll give the short version, and then if you want to dig into any specific parts, totally happy to. So if we went back to high school, I had no idea or interest in this industry. I was a athlete that thought I would play football the rest of my life. I was super into sports. I had no plan for a career really outside of sports. I didn't look that far. I also loved music. I loved both of those things, but sports is what I was like, I lived for. However, I had a really bad car accident when I was a junior in high school, head-on collision. I was in the hospital for months, 13 surgeries, and so the option of sports was gone. It was not a light accident. It was very intense. No more running, no more hitting, no more any of that. So after that, I started playing some music because obviously I can do that sitting still. And I ended up at 18 joining a rock band and going on a 25-state tour. And I was like, okay, music is my new passion and dream, and I'm going to pursue this. And that was in 2008 when economy issues and, anyone who's been in the music industry or tried to pursue it also knows you really don't make money at that until you really make it. Like, it's not a job until you're really doing well with it. I was the youngest guy in the band. It was kind of an established band. They were looking for a bassist. I ended up trying out and making it. They were all older than me, and after our tour, they were like, okay, we survived. Like, the tour paid us enough to be okay,
Right.
but they had families, and when we got back, they ended up getting jobs, and we ended up calling it quits. And that was the moment that I fell back into survey. I had gotten into it a little bit before, so my dad is a surveyor,
Okay.
and therefore I grew up around it. I mean, riding out in the truck and going and working in the field on the weekend, when I was young. But after that tour is when I got back and I was like, okay, I need to get into an actual job that's going to pay something. And that was my easy in, is that he was, able to say, hey, well, you can go work on a field crew as a chainman. Chainman and surveying is really the entry level. You don't need any knowledge. You're just riding in the truck, carrying stuff, pounding nails, stakes in the ground, that type of thing. And I just stuck with that job, working in survey. I had no other plan for a career, just kind of organically kept going with it. Did not love it, especially as a young person. I mean, it was not an exciting new job, but I knew it could be a career path. And because I had the easy in, didn't need to go back to school, I just stuck with it, started learning AutoCAD, doing some drafting work. But it was about 2009, 2010 that we got introduced to a laser scanner. And that was the complete transition period for me from, I'm doing this job that I don't really like. I want to work the minimum. I want, more pay for less work. I hate, it is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
To now laser scanner was like, wow, this is a really cool piece of technology. It's so visual. Look at this point cloud. I can map something. And I was young. I was good with technology. And so I got kind of given the opportunity, hey, why don't you be the guy that grabs this scanner and figures out how to use it? And I kind of went all in really quickly on that. I took the scanner and I was like trialing stuff. I was driving around town. I was, let me go try to scan that cool sign in this building and figure out how to use it. And fast forward, I built a department in that company. I ended up getting hired by a larger corporation. I got a management role. I went from making very little pay as a drafter to a management position running this technology at a corporate company in the matter of a couple years. It was very transformative for me. But even then, I got so excited about the technology. I wanted to move really quick. I wanted to try all this different stuff that the corporate company was also not the answer. Though I was making more than I could have dreamed, I quit my job. 10 months into that management role at a corporate company, I quit, and I was like, I'm just going to start my own business. And I knew nothing about business. I had no business plan. I didn't go to school and take a class. I didn't look up any. I just quit, and I was like, I'm just going to turn around and work for people that I know. So that was my transition into starting Nexus 3D Consulting. And I started with no experience, no funding, I took out a loan to buy a laptop, and I worked out of my home office, and I had a third kid on the way. So looking back, it's like, well, that was probably not a safe choice. You probably should have maybe spent a little time, built up some savings, have some capital, make a plan. That's one of those things I look back and I'm like, I would recommend doing that first. But it's what I did, and we are where we are. So I spent 8 years building Nexus. We ended up selling and going through an acquisition process this last year, which is the launch of Allen 3D that I'm still serving as Chief Innovation Officer of, helping give insight and guidance on technology adoption and growth to help service different technologies, from scanners and drones and scan to BIM and digital twin consulting, all of those future integrations. But then my passion project is really RCN. I launched that in 2020 as just a podcast, but the vision for what we could do with it grew year over year to, okay, we have this whole community. We have interest in these technologies. We're building a lot of awareness. Why don't we start a conference and bring people together and start helping bridge the gap of relationships of different technologies and different owners and different assets, and bring awareness to the tools, to now trying to solve really big problems of training and standards and guidelines. And so there's a lot that we still plan to do, and events is a big part of that. But everything we do is trying to give value to other people. Instead of me being the expert, me doing all the services, I am now trying to empower everybody else to learn how to use the tools properly and learn the value of them and learn how to price them and learn how to integrate them. Because I think there's so much growth still to happen in that area. That's the short story.
Love that. I absolutely love that. That's a great, and what you're doing now with the community is awesome. I'm trying to do a similar situation with people in BIM. There's a lot of people out there that don't know it exists, and they think engineering architecture or nothing. And I think what you're doing is great for the LiDAR industry. It's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna touch on all the things. Okay, football position.
Ooh, so I played a few, but quarterback, running back, receiver were my offensive positions. I rotated through all of them. I liked quarterback, but I played running back the most because I was always the fastest person on my team.
Are you still the fastest person? Because at Archon 24, we might challenge this.
I've thought about trying. So after my car accident, I got 5 screws in my knee, 3 in my hip. I broke my femur. It was pretty intense. So probably not the fastest anymore. I'll still try.
Okay, so you would have went pro for running back. What team would you want to play for?
I have to also say, though, I really love defense too.
Okay.
I was defensive end and safety. Because as much as I love holding the ball and running really fast, I also really loved chasing the person with the ball and hitting them very hard. But
okay, so what team are you going to?
My favorite team growing up was the Cowboys.
Cowboys. Okay.
Yep. We I don't know exactly why, but we had a family feud. Half of our family was 49ers, half of our family was Cowboys, and I fell into that camp and stuck with it.
I'm from, Illinois, so it was Cubs, Sox, Bears, Packers, whatever. I get the feud. Okay, awesome. And then next you were in a band.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you okay sharing the name of that band? Because we're going to Google it after this.
You won't really find it, unfortunately. Back then, and I wish there was more content, but back then there was not as many, cell phones and social platforms and all that, so we didn't really document much. The name was Procella. The most relatable would have been Tool. It was kind of a dark melodic rock band, and funny enough, I played bass in that, and I did some backup vocals, but I really wasn't a bassist. I play guitar and I sing. I still do, not really actively using that anywhere, but I mostly play acoustic guitar and vocals. I knew enough on the bass to, I guess, make it through auditions and join, but it was not at all my first instrument of choice.
Okay, so what was it like being doing a full tour? I mean,
oh my gosh, I could do a whole podcast on that. Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay, give me one.
Super fun. One very interesting thing about the tour is, again, this was not a multi-million-dollar, massive, already known signed band, right? So we didn't get a huge, beautiful, fancy, black, dark-windowed tour bus. We had a bus that used to be a transportation bus from within a city, and it was revamped internally to run off of vegetable oil. So throughout that 25 state tour, we used one tank of regular gas, and the rest of the time it was run off of used vegetable oil from restaurants. It had this process where you would start the vehicle, it would warm up on regular diesel, and then you would hit a switch and it would convert over to using the tank of vegetable oil to run off of. So as we traveled around, after shows, we would pack up and we'd have to go drive around at night and find a restaurant that had a grease trap, and we had this whole system of hoses and suction things, and you could just filter out their used oil and put it into our gas tank. That was quite interesting. But that is how you travel on a budget.
I was gonna say, no, yeah, one tank of gas is the way to go.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a car guy, so the vegetable oil thing is really interesting to me. Before construction, it was mechanical in cars for me.
It was
So
interesting. So, I mean, that's more like a fun behind-the-scenes thing as opposed to actually music. But, otherwise, we played so many shows. I mean, we would travel all day, get to a place, unpack, load, set up, play a show, tear down, load the trailer, start driving to the next city. It was like show after show after show. My bass amp was like 5 feet tall. It was a lot of fun. We played some big festivals. We also played, we had a booking manager who basically selected all the locations to play. They booked out the whole tour. Some of them were like random setups in a shopping center. Some of them were actually massive festivals with thousands of people. But there were times we played for 5 people, and there were times we played for 10,000 people. It was a lot of fun. There were also some times we were like booked to stay at certain people's houses and stuff. It was as we traveled. Lots of crazy stuff.
This sounds like a great time. Yeah. Okay. So the aha moment for you was the laser scanner, right?
Yep.
It came in. Was it the day you saw it, or was it when you saw the product of it in the software?
Definitely the software. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the scanner in and of itself, big piece of machinery. It was like, oh, geez, that's heavy. Until you see the deliverable from it, it doesn't matter. As soon as you see the point cloud and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks like the real thing. Like, the very first things we scanned were just the front of our office, and then we took it and did this famous sign in our city. Having that data processed and actually seeing that it looked like the real thing, that was just super cool. There's nothing else like it. I mean, it's the fact that it's a map of the actual thing that you can measure, that you can pull into design software. It was very, very new and exciting.
So what classic scanner was it? Do you remember which one it was?
I do not remember the name of it, but the very first one we saw was a big scanner from TopCon. It was very big, very slow. We ended up trialing and renting and using a few different scanners, and at that time was when Faro came out with their first Focus style scanner, which kind of rocked the market a little bit at that time, because previously everything was very expensive, very big, very heavy, very slow. Their first move with that Focus scanner was half the price, half the size, half the time. So their launch of that scanner really started to push the market, because so many more people started buying into it. And it caused a lot of competition too, where now all the other scanner manufacturers went, oh my gosh, we need to make something faster and something smaller and something. So that time period was a big transformation in the hardware game.
I was going to ask, like, that time period, I'm not familiar with the history. I know before the scanners you see today, they were big blue boxes, they were loud and humming, and it wasn't anything special. So like, it's like any other equipment you'd see back then. It was like, oh yeah, this does this.
Yeah.
Or like when I did a little bit of surveying, I was before we had to do the the stick with the laser.
Oh yeah,
And that was it.
Yeah,
And
total
you just-
stations
you-
and
It wasn't even a total station. It was a manual. It was a manual. It looked like a yardstick. I never wanted to get into it. Never
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to.
oh yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
but
It was.
I imagine seeing something like that's been.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Game-changer.
again, all those other technologies have their use. They're still great and precise measurements and all that, but nothing is as visually stunning and impressive as laser scanning. That was just a game changer. Yeah, very exciting, especially for young people. Younger people nowadays, right, are coming from gaming environments and iPads, and so to show them traditional surveying right now isn't super attractive, but
Yep.
to show them what can be done with scanners and drones and point clouds and models, and that's exciting. So the technologies are absolutely a way to also get young people interested in the built environment industries.
100%. And I actually talked to a professor from Purdue a couple months ago about the fact, and he's like, yeah, before it used to be a lot of architecture engineer was like a 60-20 split or a 80-20 split between that and gaming, and now it's flipped completely.
Oh yeah,
And they're trying to figure out how to get people I'm like, you got to show them scanning. You got to show
Yeah.
them 3D models. I mean, now with Unreal Engine and Twin Motion alone, like everyone knows Unreal Engine because, I mean, you and I probably grew up with the same kind of video games and stuff. Unreal Engine was
Yeah.
it. And then now it comes in with this architecture. And then now you put a scan to it. Now
Yeah.
you're going through a scan in Unreal Engine. It's just incredible where the technology is today. And it's like, how do you show kids that's drafting now? That's no longer like drafting. That's drafting. And we call it BIM.
Yeah, and our industry has to adopt and bring more of these technologies and options into the companies, or we will never attract the talent away from, look, if I can sit at home and become a YouTuber and make as much money or stream gaming and get ads, why would I ever enter surveying or construction or anything else? So not only do we have to think about the value within the project itself, but like if we really are having a struggle or a problem with getting people into the industry, we are competing with those other options. And so it has to become a normal. And I think it is starting to get there, and the realization is there, and the adoption of the tools is growing, that I think we're going to solve some of that problem.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. Now people are growing up with technology consistently. I mean, I grew up halfway and halfway. So no cell phones until like out of high school kind of thing. Yeah, okay, you get it. When the cell phone was trying to be small. And then now, the next generation, they have TikTok, they have the YouTube, they have all this stuff, and they're making money on it. So again, like you said, why would they want to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
If they can make money hand over fist just talking in front of the screen, why would I want to go out and use a laser scanner? So industry has to adapt. We got to get younger. We got to show new technologies. I mean, it's kind of what we're trying to do here is like, hey,
absolutely,
if you're listening and you want to learn this stuff, like call Matt Byrd. I'll help you figure out what you want to do in construction. Let's get people interested, and then really make a pathway for them. Because I mean, right now, it's people like you that technically have the piss and vinegar to go out there and just kind of grab everything and take it and run with it, that are leaders in the industry that like really are showing that you can do just about anything you want to do in this industry and be an expert at it, because it's still very young.
Yeah. Yes.
Still very young.
Yeah. I mean, if you just get in and you get a couple years under your belt with these tools, you have a valuable position at that point. Because again, until it's all about supply and demand, right? Just like a technology is, or a product is, or anything. Right now, we're starting to meet that aspect where the supply of good employees who know how to do scanning and BIM and VDC and drone flights and data processing and scan to BIM modeling, the supply of them is pretty limited. And now the demand is growing, so those people are becoming very expensive. Or if you want to hire one of them, you got to go steal them from somewhere else. And now the company you stole them from is trying to hire somebody. So if you throw yourself in, learn, get your hands in, like spend a couple years, you're one of those people in that mix now. And until we get a lot of people and that kind of evens out, you can get a pretty valuable role in a short amount of time.
Oh yeah, I tell contractors or just go be an electrician or a plumber or put up duct for 2 years, not even a year, and then go to that contractor and say, I want to draw for you. You have immediate value over anyone who went to college to go draw for you because you know how it's done.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I push for that. And
Yep.
I talked to Kirk Schroeder at BYU Idaho about this. And, he set up, and BYU Idaho is great with their VDC program and the 4-year degree. And I was like, frankly, I'm for the trade path, and he was told me all the internships, and he explained that he was too, and he's a professor and set that up. So shout out to them for doing a great job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, get out there, do some stuff, get your hands dirty just for a minute.
Yep.
And then you immediately get in there and you're now, top of the food chain. It's incredible how fast you can move through this industry with just, again, a little bit of piss and vinegar.
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of give
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And nothing against people further along in their career doing this either, but for younger people, I really recommend go try out a few different things. Go try out a couple different roles or a couple different companies. Like if you don't know what you want to do yet, just get a job at one of these companies and get your feet wet and see what it's like to do modeling or to be in the surveyor scanning piece, or like there's nothing wrong with, while you're younger, feeling it out and then figure out, okay, I really want to go deep into this technology or this type of role, or I think that's a very easy and valuable thing to do. And like you're saying, depending on the role they ended up deciding on, having some experience in different portions of it, the field portion of it, the office portion of it, it gives you perspective and understanding that you may not know if you only fell into one lane.
Exactly. Yeah, I had a guy who I showed him Polycam, and the next day he goes, what computer do I need? The next day he goes, how do I get this software? And so I showed him how to set up and get Autodesk software for free. I'm like, do you have a .edu? Yeah, so we set him up. We got him recap, Autodesk recap and BIM and stuff. And now we're researching mobile scanners together now because I'm looking for a handheld one that's not SLAM or takes a long time to process. So it's been incredible to see him go for that. And then now I'm like, you need to get on LinkedIn. You need to join groups. You need to follow him. I'm like, you need to follow Matt. You need to follow these people. You need to see what's going on. And if you can get to any of these conferences or outings or just gatherings, go out there and do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, we haven't put a really big push there either, but that is one of my goals as well. Is like everything you just talked about should be turned into a program, should be turned into hey, if you know nothing about these tools and you want to foot in, take this course, it's going to teach them all that, right? Like, here's your app options, download this, download that, walk through this process, and then set up purposeful networking even at our own conference. That's like, hey, at this hour, we're putting together entry-level people and hiring companies, and there you go. Here's your interns. Here's your company. Because if you're not in the industry already, you don't even know who to go ask for. You wouldn't have known they're going to hire you. If you're in the industry, you don't know how to find the right interns. So there's some matchmaking opportunity there. So if you're somebody who is in this process, absolutely spend the money to go to an event where it's full of these type of people and just have conversations with some people. You could leave with a job. Oh yeah.
Just talk with people. Networking is so key right now. Just talk with people. Okay. So I'm gonna leave you with let's talk about Archon for a minute. Archon 24.
Yes.
What details you want to share? What's coming up?
Oh
what
my
are we
gosh.
expecting?
I love our conference. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. I really do. It's such a great time. To be honest, it's so fun for me because I started it, and so all the people coming are like my friends and my clients and my network and so I just absolutely love the event. That being said, for those that are not familiar, it's kind of like the TEDx conference for construction technology. We don't do a bunch of breakout rooms and different classes. It's in a theater. It's one stage with very curated content of people presenting case studies, talking about how they're using these tools. We have about 40 vendors that showcase different technologies, scanners, drones, software. And then my favorite part is still our evening networking opportunities. We're planning to do our big casino night again this year up in the BSU Skybox. We're actually doing a happy hour on the blue field this year, which is going to be super fun. We got to go out there last year, but for a short time and take some pictures, and people loved it. We're like, okay, can we rent the blue field and do a whole party down there? And the answer was yes. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Our purpose in it is really helping people make relationships, learn, get inspired to grow, to innovate, and then leave with relationships that can help you do that if you're looking for them. So lots of good companies coming. But, yeah, we have more announcements coming out here shortly, which you can always find on the website, realitycapturenetwork.com.
Being a little hush-hush about it. So it's a big old thing to do. Okay. So any inspiration for the people out there who are listening, who are thinking about getting into LiDAR or just BIM as an industry, what would you say to them today to kind of help them push them forward?
Oh, man. I mean, I get asked a lot, even from parents of like, my kids don't know what they want to do yet. Or, my answer to them or to anybody that's considering it is like, this is an incredible industry. The technologies are very, they're fun. We are solving so many challenges for some of the most important companies in the world. I say that often because I'm like, in the built environment, we are the ones building airports, building rail, building transportation. Like, the world can't happen without these companies. And the fact that these technologies can solve massive problems for them, it's very valuable. You can enter this industry with no experience, with no degree, with no college, and if you get in and apply yourself and dig in and learn and grow in those, again, I've watched it transform my own career path. I know what it can do for other people. I think you just have to jump in and do it. So do some research and, ask questions, meet people. It's a great time to get into these technologies.
Awesome. Matt, thanks for coming on. If you guys are out there liking what you listen to, please follow, subscribe, and like YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever else you find the Strive. Appreciate it. Matt, thanks again.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me, and keep up the great work, having conversations with people and inspiring more people to get into this world.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you.